honest truth is if you can't make good nutritional decisions on the fly, you have no chance of getting your body in great shape. What's going on? I'm Montel Harden, personal trainer, strength and conditioning, and sports nutrition coach since 2017. And over that time, we've had to be really flexible with how we program clients' diets and how we help them figure out how to eat healthier. I've had a lot of clients, probably hundreds at this point, that traveled frequently for work, weren't able to meal prep, or simply did not want to do it, but we still had to figure out a way to help them drop body fat, build up lean muscle, and improve their overall health. Everything I'm about to lay out is actually what one of our top clients, Matthew, did. He actually traveled back and forth from Houston to Dallas every other day for work. So cooking 3 or 4 meals a day was out of the question. Honestly, he might have cooked 4 or 5 times over the course of 4 or 5 months of us working together. But in that time frame, eating strictly takeout and convenience options, we were able to strip off 40 pounds of body fat in just 4 months. A lot of people think that it's impossible to go out to eat or not cook your own food and still improve your health. The fact of the matter is it's not, and you actually might kind of be shocked at the restaurants that you typically frequent or the kinds of places that you go to, what options are available on the menu. You just don't have an understanding of how to go about choosing that and what criteria to look for when you are eating out. So I'm going to give you the game, the genius strategy to eat healthy on the go no matter where you are. First up is to get the leanest protein option available and to forego the appetizers. And I'm also referring to the bread that you might get sat at the table, the nachos. The reason I say that isn't just to be a buzzkill, but because we're gonna throw these things back so quickly. There's a reason why they give you those foods. Those foods actually make you hungrier. These processed breads, these processed tortilla chips, or whatever else people might have out as appetizers, if they made you full, they wouldn't get that. They wouldn't give you that. They give you that because it actually makes you hungrier. It makes you crave more food. And that's one of the biggest things that obviously we want to stay away from. If we're trying to improve your body composition, we're trying to improve your health, we actually want to stay away from those things. So when you sit down at the table, I just want you to say no bread, no chips, no salsa, no guac, whatever the case may be. And I know this is very difficult because that's one of the best parts of eating out, honestly. But if we're on a mission and we're trying to make changes in our health, and one of those changes isn't able to be cooking at home more, this is one of the best things that you can do. And the reason that you want to have a lean protein source, the leanest protein source that you can find, is because it's going to help you feel fuller for longer. It's going to help you preserve lean muscle mass during your fat loss phase. And it's probably going to be the overall healthiest thing that you get on the menu. And when I say lean protein source, I'm referring to something like steak, chicken breast, chicken thighs, a salmon fillet, tilapia, shrimp, essentially just a piece of meat on your plate, seasoned well, all that, but nothing that's battered and coated and smothered and stuck between a sandwich or stuck inside of the pasta or stuck inside a soup or a casserole. Like, you just want that individual piece of meat, piece of fish on your plate. And if you can start ordering like this, because it actually might look different depending on the restaurant that you go to, especially the higher scale restaurants, they tend to have their things built out in specific meals. So you actually might have to get used to ordering things kind of a la carte. I heard you guys have a good steak. Let me get some steak, and then let me get a side of green beans, and then a side of sweet potato. Like, you might have to order differently than what the menu says, but this is going to allow you to build your meals in a way that improves your body composition. You get the necessary carbs you need, you get the necessary micronutrients from those vegetables, and then you get that protein in place as well. So those are one of, I know it's kind of 2 in 1, but I think it's kind of one and the same. So look for the leanest protein you can find on every single menu. That should be number 1 priority. As soon as you sit down and you grab a menu, you should be able to find what the highest quality protein is, what's going to give you the most bang for your buck when ordering. Then you should make sure to leave the chips and the bread and all that stuff on the side. Number 2 is if you're going to have alcohol. This is something that a lot of my clients that have clients of their own, typical thing in the business industry, I think specifically in banking and anything having to do with government. I'm trying to think of the clients that I've had in the past and like the industries that they were in, but banking, government, law, things like that. You typically are having breakfast, lunch, dinner, sometimes with 3 different clients, and you might have drinks or have the opportunity to have drinks in every single one of those. Now, obviously, if you know anything about, how I feel about alcohol when it comes to your health and fat loss goals, you know that my preference would be for you to have a non-alcoholic beverage. But we also have to be realistic with where people are, and that might be a little bit more challenging. And also there's a whole lot of social stigma around not being the one drinking at the table, which I feel like, you know, we're grown adults, grown men. You should be able to, if you don't want to drink, you should be able to say that you don't want to drink and, you know, feel fine about it. But I understand how it's a little bit different when you are trying to connect with a client. You're trying to kind of break that ice and kind of build that relationship. You kind of don't want to be the person that is kind of bringing the energy down. Although, once again, I don't know why you declining an alcoholic beverage is bringing the energy down, but that's how people feel about the situation. But I digress. Anyway, the big problem with alcohol is that as soon as our body senses it, it's a toxin. So your body is going to prioritize the metabolization of that alcohol above anything else. And that's also why I talked about point number 1 is getting that protein in. That protein kind of acts as a sponge and a buffer to absorb that alcohol. And then the water does a whole lot of the rest for you. First off, you're going to be able to handle your alcohol a whole lot better. You're much less likely to get buzzed or drunk if you are having a 1-to-1 ratio in terms of for every glass of alcohol you have, you need 1 glass of water to accompany it. This is obviously going to help you feel fuller. It's going to help you eat less. You're much less likely to down 5-6 glasses of alcohol, whatever your personal limit is, to where it's like, okay, I overdid it a little bit. You're much less likely to get anywhere close to that if you got to guzzle a glass of water right alongside it. And we want to be able to have alcohol without having the negative effects of it. You don't want to wake up and be sluggish and drained and have terrible digestion and constantly have these blood sugar spikes that lead to a whole lot of different other things long-term metabolically. Like, you want to be able to consume alcohol and have minimal short-term and long-term effects from it. One of the best ways to do that is to obviously make sure that you're properly fueled, and eating a high carb meal is one of the worst ways to do that, because alcohol is already an extremely calorically dense carb. Alcohol actually has 7 calories per gram compared to your regular carbohydrates like bread or pasta that only has 4 calories per gram. So you're already almost getting double the calories and the carbs just consuming alcohol. The last thing you want to do is chase behind that with more carbohydrates. So you need a protein source in place, and you need to hydrate your body. It's going to help you feel a whole lot better. It's going to help you sleep better. It's going to help you wake up better without a hangover. It's just a great way to kind of blunt the negative effects of alcohol, but still be able to kind of indulge in that, especially if it's a situation where you feel like, oh, well, you know, they're going to say something if I'm not drinking or whatever the case may be. Which, once again, I'm going to say again, as a grown man, if you decide that you want to take control of your health and that, you know, cutting down on your alcohol is something that you feel that you need to do for that, you should be able to probably say that and forget what anybody thinks. But I know it doesn't always work that way. 3 is to stop double carbing. If you look at just the way that the regular basic menus are laid out in most restaurants, they're typically going to have 2 carbohydrates. They'll have rice and beans, potatoes and bread, pasta and bread. The double carb is really one of the biggest reasons why America is how it is in terms of our obesity crisis, diabetes, and all of the other things that we're dealing with. We just consume way too many carbs on a meal by meal basis in conjunction to the amount of activity that most of us are putting in, which is very little to none. So from now on, instead of double carbing, I want you to have a single carb and then a fruit or vegetable on the plate. So just like I talked about earlier, you go in and you want to start ordering a la carte. Don't look at what's being provided to you as kind of meal builds on the menu. Look more for plank cedar salmon here. They do serve asparagus here, and they do serve red potatoes. That's a meal in and of itself. Let me just see if I can order these things individually. That's going to give you so much more control over what you're consuming, as opposed to just looking and finding individual meal builds, because they might not necessarily be structured that way on the menu, because unfortunately a lot of people don't eat like this. But that's why so many people are overweight, out of shape, and unhealthy. But if you do want to get your body in shape, you need about 50% of your plate in protein. You need about 25 or so percent of your plate in carbs, and then about 25% or so of your plate in fruits, vegetables, aka fiber. If you truly want to build a lean, healthy, fit body, that's one of the best ways that you can build your plate. And you can do it pretty much anywhere as long as you order this way, as opposed to trying to find it on the menu. Because if you try to find it on the menu, you're probably going to be out of luck at a lot of places. Last but not least is going to be to keep a journal. I think this is even more important if you're on the go, you're out and about. We just brought a client on recently that literally from morning to night could be on either coast. I talked to him in the morning and he's in Chicago. I talked to him in the evening and he's in LA. There's a lot of things going on. There's in and out of airports, changing and connecting flights. There's getting in and out of Ubers and taxis, making it to restaurants and meetings, you can easily forget what you've consumed and what foods you've eaten if you're on the go so consistently. So what I want you to do is just start snapping a quick pic of everything that you eat, having that in your food journal, and then I want you to set an alarm for 8 p.m. every single night, and then I want you to label it, go look at foods for the day. And then you'll go back to your photos and you'll kind of take a mental snapshot of what you consume. The reason that this is so great is because first off, just the fact that you're doing it is going to make you make better decisions. And then secondly, you're really going to get a feel for, oh, okay, I thought I ate a lot of protein, but I literally only have a solid source of protein one time today. Or I thought I didn't snack a lot, but I bought candy bar and I got a soda and I bought a bag of chips as I was going through the city. You'll realize and reveal a lot of stuff about your own personal eating habits that will really wake you up. And you'll realize that these little things that you don't account for are probably exactly what's holding you back from getting the body and the health that you want. So keeping a journal is the same thing as tracking your KPIs. If you're trying to figure out how to expand a business or how to expand operations in a certain sector of the business, you're going to have KPIs that you track, things that you track. Keeping that food journal is one of the biggest ways to keep a handle on what it is that you're consuming. And that ultimately leads to your energy levels, which ultimately leads to whether or not you're going to train, which ultimately leads to what you're going to eat afterward. Like, it's a cyclical thing where when you start eating better, you start sleeping better. When you start sleeping better, you start training more and moving more. When you start moving more, you start eating better food. I promise you, it is one and the same. If you start moving more, you start getting your body stronger, healthier, leaner. You are going to naturally crave healthier, higher quality foods. And the things that I talked about before, getting that lean protein source, turning away from appetizers, 1-to-1 alcohol to water ratio. You're going to do these things naturally because that's what your body craves and you really start to enjoy that. But you got to get the ball rolling on it first. You got to get the momentum going on it first before it gets that easy. When I first started my journey in the health and fitness industry, I wanted everybody to box themselves into a meal plan. I wanted them to meal prep 5 days a week. I wanted them to be perfect with everything in their nutrition, and I never wanted them to eat out. And I quickly found out that that was not an effective strategy. That was not going to work. Your days never look the same. You might not know where you are on a week-to-week basis. And it might be kind of hard to stay consistent with your health and fitness, which is why you probably found yourself, as your career progressed, you got in worse and worse and worse shape. So I just wanted to create strategies to help mitigate this and actually reverse it and utilize systems like we just talked about in order to get your body and health where you need it to be. So that's it. That's all. Hopefully you got a lot of value. If you did and you're like, hey, you know what? I need this level of accountability in my life. I need this strategy in my own personal day so that I can do what I need to do to drop fat, build muscle, and get healthy as well. Click the first link down in our description. Take the transformation quiz and we'll go through everything you got going on. I can give you a full transformation assessment that breaks down exactly how we go about getting you from where you are now to in the best shape of your life, even with your crazy schedule. And if you want weekly insights from me straight to your email inbox every morning, click the second link down in the description, sign up there, and I'll make sure send you some good stuff that's going to help you out along the journey. That's it. That's all. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn notifications on so that you don't miss any more uploads going forward. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.